Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May peace be upon everyone. My name is Ansar. For those who don't know me and my relation with NANMA, I am the Executive Director of Civic Engagement of NANMA Canada, which is a network of all Malayali Muslim community in North America. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this evening. I hope you had a great weekend going on. I would like to thank you for joining us today for this special presentation on family relationships and parenting during COVID-19, an issue that is becoming more and more critical every day. We should be prepared for months like this, and it may take years to get the economy back in shape. Just an overview about today's agenda. We will have our opening remarks by Mustafa KP, followed by Prasad Nair's webinar. It is planned to be a 30 minutes presentation along with another 30 minutes for question and answer session. You can post your questions in chat options available. After the question answer session, we will have a vote of thanks by Fasil Abdul. I would like to invite our beloved Executive President of NANMA Canada, Mr. Mustafa KP, to come forward and begin our webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mustafa KP.
Thank you, Ansar and NANMA. Can you all hear me? Excellent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Peace be upon you. Namaskaram. These trying times, hum sab ghar mein band hai, for which none of us and our governments were prepared. In our scheme of things, we had never planned for being closeted with our spouses, children, parents, uncles, unruly or otherwise aunties and grandparents for more than 24 hours. Have you ever thought about it? We never planned. Even the governments are now discovering that their missiles, guns, rockets, ships, aircrafts and tanks are not much used against a seemingly invincible tyrant. And survive we did. This lockup pressure build-up may have reached a whistle stage for some. Getting out to bend out is not an option though. While some might be struggling to manage their bare necessities, some others might have found nirvana in some other ingenious ways. To help us through this situation, NANMA, that is North American Malayali Muslim Association, is organizing this webinar for all of us to identify and then to overcome the challenges we are thrown under. We are so excited to have all of you participate in this very valuable program tonight titled Family Relationship and Parenting During COVID-19 Lockdown, organized by NANMA Canada. This most timely and useful program could not have been pulled off without the dedicated NANMA volunteers team working behind to set up the technology, coordination, and make its benefit reach geographically dispersed audience all across North America that we have now. It is my privilege to extend a special welcome to our guest of honor today, Mr. Prasad Nair, MSW, RSW, who is the director at Children's Aid Society, Toronto. Director Prasad Nair is a leading expert in the study of parenting, child raising science. We may have disagreement whether parenting is a science or an art. I leave it to you all, the experts. I don't claim I have any expertise in the parenting, but though I have raised two boys. Prasad, like most of us, is an immigrant and a proud hardcore Malayali. Though he has been in this part of the world for the last 2 decades, that is 20 years almost, he still keeps the same immigrant sentiments and keeps yearning for the God's own country, our own Kerala. He is also currently the president of Mississauga Kerala Association. Prasad has been in the forefront of a number of volunteer activities, particularly in the field of child protection and welfare from various organizations. Prasad has been accomplished as a great many accomplishments in his field in this vast career. Prasad has a number of master degrees from universities from India and from North America. Like, masters from Loyola College, Trivandrum, masters in social work from York University, arts degree from Mahatma Gandhi University. And what add icing to the cake is Prasad is a law graduate from prestigious and famous Ernakulam Law College. The lawyer background and social work specialization makes Prasad uniquely positioned to champion the child welfare program from a legal angle of social values, human rights, parent and child privileges, and so on. Prasad has been conducting many such programs like parenting seminars, how to mentor and manage kids, to foster positive child upbringing, to help them grow as a responsible citizens, and so on. And also, Prasad is a proud father of 2 children. The elder child is now studying in university, and the younger child is in the high school age. It's very interesting. Prasad's wife, Mrs. Bindu, is also a dedicated social worker with MSW degree. Incidentally, Mrs. Bindu is also a law graduate from the same famous Ernakulam Law College, and I'm guessing they probably met there, and like in all movie style, happy ever after. So social service is in their family, making life better for others in need. I hope that today inspires ideas and discussions around the ways that we can make our family and home a better place during this lockdown and thereafter as well. Before I take up any more of your time, as I know you're all eagerly waiting to hear from our director Prasad Nair, let us welcome Prasad Nair. Now, I'll hand over my podium to Ansar, who is a team leader from NANMA. Thank you, Ansar.
Thank you, Mr. Mustafa. Moving right along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Prasad Nair, a prominent figure in our Indo-Canadian communities in GTA. He is working as director at Children's Aid Society of Toronto. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Prasad Nair.
Thank you very much, Ansar. Thank you very much, Mustafa, for such a stunning introduction. So at times I'm thinking myself like, okay, is Mustafa talking to me or someone else? But I started realizing that in between I can hear Prasad. So I assume that it's all about me. And thank you very much for the warm welcome, and thank you, NANMA, for arranging this much valid subject as a point of view for discussion. And I'm very much aware that, okay, the timing, it's like, so we only have 30 minutes. So I'll be going through some literatures. Most of the things that I'm going to talk here, you can search in Google. You will be able to find much information there too. So my intention of this presentation is it's not a teaching session. It is about a discussion to provide you some valid leads and some point of view for our thoughts and our, in our mind that we can think of, and then, try to do some arrangements in our family life during this crisis. And as Mustafa rightly pointed out, that this pandemic that we were not, I can say that we as a human society have never prepared for this particular pandemic, and therefore any action that we are going to take is going to be unprecedented action. So which means that there is no very specific textbook or rather a formula in front of us. It applies to parenting, it applies to all fields that we encounter. I hope all of you can hear, and sir, if you can give me a hand sign that if you can hear really well, so that gives me a bit confidence. Okay, thank you very much. So parenting strategies, right? So parenting strategies are part of culture and it evolves. And what I mean by evolves that, so like any culture, assimilation, adaptation, acculturation, transculturation, this all applies. So we learn certain things from how we practice or how we received parenting or how, as a child, and then we keep that and then it evolves. And then we assimilate some information from our readings, we adapt to it. Yeah, there will be some acculturation, and then some transculturation also happens. In transculturation, if you are even an immigrant from India, you move from India to Canada. So by yours of moving from one country to the other, you are bringing a culture of your home country to the host country, and your parenting practice also changes in that practice, that moving. So that's the important aspect to understand. Culture is usually conceived as the set of distinctive patterns of beliefs and behaviors that are shared by a group of people that serve to regulate their daily living. This is what something we need to understand. So these beliefs and behaviors shape how parents care for their offspring. So it's not something that, with one fine morning that you started learning about it. No, it's part of your upbringing, that it's been there, and over a period of time, you are demonstrating, or rather you are showing some tangible aspects of that culture in way of parenting behaviors. So again, parenting strategies are, define acceptable conduct in a society. So there won't be a very standardized set of norms for parenting strategies, but there are always going to be some sort of guidelines around what is the acceptable practice in a society. And it's also important, what is acceptable in a culture may not be acceptable in another culture. So we wanted to think, because it's a small presentation, we have to think from a perspective of universal value systems, because I understand that, different parts of, people from different parts of North America is on this call. So let's talk about that from that perspective. And it's child-centered, it's expert-guided, it's emotionally absorbing, labor-intensive, and it is financially expensive. So you can agree to that, parenting is a financially expensive game. So once it moves to family relationships, again, it's very interesting that, you look into parenting strategies and your family relationship, it almost mirrors. So it's part of our culture, it evolves, assimilation, adaptation, acculturation, transculturation, those aspects applies, defining acceptable conduct in a society. So in a family relationship, though it's a unit that we create, there is some sort of expectations by the society, and certain rules will be there. And the society's rules are going to govern how your interaction is going to be with your spouse, or how is your interaction is going to be with your parents. How are you shaping your interactions with your children? So family relationships are person-centered. It's expert-guided. Expert-guided means that, there are a lot of researches happen. There are a lot of resources that's available. You can just Google it. You will find a lot of rich conversations that's available for us to learn. And it's emotionally absorbing, and it's labor-intensive, because you have to work really hard to maintain your family relationship. And it's financially expensive too. So in this pandemic, what is really happening? We can't go to work. Some of us have to go to work. We are in essential services, so there is added pressure onto it. Schools are closed, so children are home. That is also giving us some added pressure. We are worried about our health and safety, and we are worried about money. And what I really want us to start and say that, it is normal to feel stressed or overwhelmed. And that is where we need to start. As if you are thinking from parenting or a family relations perspective, let's make it very clear that it is normal to feel stressed at this time. And it is also okay to feel overwhelmed. It is not just applies to you. It applies to everyone that you interact to. Which means if you're stressed, chances that your spouse is also stressed. And chances that your children are also stressed. Do not underestimate the stress level of someone else. Right? Even a baby can be stressed in this environment, because that's how our relationships are. And our relationships have an impact on other people's behavior, how others perceive us. So therefore, it can be a stressful environment. So let's agree into that. So what can we do? Especially I'm talking about parenting. So I'm going to talk specifically about parenting. Some of the strategies you can definitely use in your adult relationships too. So set aside one-to-one time to spend with each child. So I'm very clear here, it is each child. So you're not going to do a group parenting during this crisis situation. In a regular situations, you have 3 children, it's okay that you can have conversation to all 3 children together. You can have group game. But this is a stressful situation for all of us. So set aside a time for one-to-one to spend with each child. You don't have to spend a long period of time, just 15 to 20 minutes. It's okay. And you don't have to say it can be at the same time. If it's in the same time, it's better. Or try to provide morning, whatever the sleep pattern of the child, whatever your sleep pattern, your work schedule, prepare that and then try to provide that one-to-one attention to each child. And ask your child what they would like to do. So that's what I really want us to do during that 15 to 20 minutes. Ask them what they really like to do and listen to them, look at them, give them your full attention. And of course, have fun. So if you allow a child to choose, then that helps them to build their self-confidence. If they want to do something that is not okay with, say, right now, the physical distancing, so they want to go to the park or to do something which is not really, agreeable to the physical distancing rules, then that is going to be a chance for you to talk to them about the importance of it. It's not only just physical distancing, anything. So if you are not in agreement with something that your child is asking, allow the child to express why the child wants it. So that allows you to go back and to have a meaningful discussion with your child so that the child understands. Because it's a learning environment. What is parenting is all about creating a learning environment for your children to be successful in social life. That's what I would say. It's not about just making money. That's not the purpose of child rearing. Child rearing is about creating a responsible citizen for our society. So what are we able to do it is to engage with them, allow them to express, and then don't forget, have fun. So some ideas that I can share, if you have a babies or toddlers, you don't have to think about in difficulty to find which activity I'm going to do with my kids. So, with babies, you can copy their facial expression or you can copy their sound. 15 to 20 minutes. It's very easy. And you can sing songs and, you can make music with pots and spoons. Go to kitchen, grab some pots, play with your toddler and stack cups. Do anything that, within your reach. Be with them, play, tell a story, read a book, or share pictures. So if you have a little bit more older child, so if it's a young child, like say, not a toddler, maybe in preteen, so you can read a book, you can look at pictures, you can make drawings, you can do some work, housework, chores together, you can do cleaning, you can do some cooking game, you can help with schoolwork, you can play a board game, you can have movie time, you can have conversation time. So you can do a lot more things within that period. So it's all about how productive are we able to talk to our children. If you have a teenager, and it's one of the toughest thing, I agree, but then you can still talk to them about sports, music, celebrities, friends. But the catch is that talk to them about their interest, not your interest, right? Talk to them about their interests and understand those interests. And you can cook, you can bake, you can help them to create a favorite meal. You can exercise together, and you can play music together. You can play board games. You movie time, meditate, or pray together, or healthy conversations. Discuss current issues. So n number of things that you can do, but it all to be planned. So it's you have a 20 minutes. This is what you're going to do with your child. So create a schedule and then you move forward. So to do that, what you really need is to create a structure. So we have to create a structure which is flexible but consistent to our daily routine. So when we do our daily routine, we have to have a consistent schedule. So that's how human beings perform really well. And that is why at work we have schedules. That is why at work we have time schedules to work on, there will be project timelines. So yes, this is a lockdown period, this is a crisis period. Don't allow that daily routine to go away. So be flexible, understand the current situation, and at the same time, create that daily routine. So the other aspect is that develop a plan with the help of your child. So I kind of like mentioned that earlier. I repeated this in my slide at this point too. So you wanted to develop whatever the flexible, consistent daily routine that you are developing, develop it with your child. So you need to get that buy-in from your child, and always try to incorporate exercise into it, because physical activity is important for children. So you may want to think outside of the box to incorporate exercise into this daily routine. Then teach your child about keeping safe distances. It's not just physical distances. It's all about keeping a safe environment in and around. So I'm not sure about how your family situation is, but you may want to keep your child safe. That is what it's all about. You want to keep your child safe. If your child is not comfortable to be with an adult, do not push or don't compel that child to be there in that environment. That is why it's important to have a conversation around, like, okay, what is really happening? Creating a safe environment for your child to discuss with you. This is why I don't like to go with uncle so-and-so or aunt so-and-so. Have that conversation, understand it really well, and believe your child. So one thing I would say that you can do is to believe your child. Even if your child, you think that your child is lying, believe your child and show your child that you believe him or her, so that the child will open up to you. Child will definitely come back and talk to you that this is what I feel. And that's what you want in a parenting relationship. And also, as I always say, that, make every activity a fun. So if you make activities a fun, children will listen to you. So you are a model for your child's behavior. So if you practice keeping safe distance and hygiene yourself and treat others with compassion, especially those who are sick or vulnerable, your children and teenagers will listen to you and will learn from you. So you can't teach them by saying, you have to show them, this is how I live my life. And it will help them to understand this is how we are supposed to behave. At the end of each day, please take a minute to think about that day. If possible, tell yourself and also tell your child about one positive thing or a fun thing that you did. It's better to start with yourself. Like, start talking to yourself like, one thing that is the fun stuff that I did today. What is that? How am I feeling about it? Am I feeling good about it? Then share that with your child, and also ask your child to share what is that interesting that happened in that day. Then praise yourself of what you did well today, and always acknowledge that you are a star. So be positive. Definitely, I can say this, children will drive crazy. And one thing that you may want to always remember that, so if you can see my slide, you can see that it says silence is golden unless you have a toddler. In that case, silence is very, very suspicious. So you know what I mean? Like, if you have a toddler who is extremely silent, there is an issue. So you don't want that to happen. But at the same time, you want to engage with your child, and it's impossible for you to engage 24/7 too. So be realistic around that and then create. And if you have more than one adult in our household, make it very clear. Let us share that responsibility. Child rearing is not the responsibility of one spouse, even though traditionally we think that way. We wanted to move away from it because we are all locked down in a space. So now this is the time that we really wanted to, this is a challenge that I will place it out here, that, try to do different things. Like, if you are a husband, never been into a kitchen, try to go into that kitchen. If you are a wife, never been into, say, cleaning the garage, try to do that. So it's kind of like, change what you do and then try to learn from each other. So when behaviors are getting bad, usually I hear that question. So what would I do when the behaviors are bad? So a couple of things that you wanted to think about if you see a bad behavior, whether it's from your spouse or it's from an adult in your life or it's from a child, you have to be very clear. Say the behavior you wanted to see. Don't just say things like, okay, I don't like this, because it's not going to work. Say the behavior you wanted to see. If you don't like your child to throw all the toys around the house, don't tell your child like, don't throw these things around. Child is not going to listen to. Instead, let the child understand this is how you keep the toys. So be with the child to arrange the toys. So that becomes the new chore. Then it becomes more of like, a way of managing those behaviors. So simple things like, don't make a mess is a bad word, but let's make clean, or rather than let's do a cleanup. That's a good word. So use those kind of things. We're mindful about it. You can do that. And it's all in delivery. What I mean by that is that, honestly, that, I am also learning day by day, being with my kids. So shouting at your child will make you angrier, if that is a word in English. So you get stressed. Same time, your child is also going to get stressed. If you shout at your spouse is going to get stressed. Spouse is going to get angry. You are also going to get angry. So there is no rational element in it. You can't have a discussion if you don't have a rational element. If there is no rational element, you can't improve. You can't listen to, because you will never listen to a person if you are angry with that person. Will you? No. So please understand that. The other aspect is that, get it real. That, can your child actually do what you're asking? So before you ask, you have to think like, okay, I'm going to ask my child or my spouse to do A or B or C. Can he, she, or, can they do it? If they can't do it, then don't ask. There is no meaning of asking if they can't do it. You know that they can't do it, then what is the purpose of asking? Asking is kind of like, just, oh, I'm going to say this out here. No, ask, be genuine, ask what is real, right? So for a 4-year-old child to keep quiet for a day, this is not going to happen. But a 4-year-old can keep quiet for 5 minutes. So that's something that you should be asking. Not that, you should not have TV at all. That's not going to happen. Unless you trained your child in such a way for years, then it's okay. Otherwise, child is not going to say like, I don't want to watch TV at all. No, instead you can say, there is no TV for half an hour, or there is no TV for this particular show you're not going to watch. So be specific and be real. Then praise your child when they are behaving really well. And we always forget about that. Because we always get angry when our children misbehave. But are we getting really happy when our children behave okay? So that's something that I really want us to think, like try praising your child or a teenager for something they have done well. Then help your children connected, help your teen connected especially, right? They need that social life. And because of this current situation, they are isolated. So one way of them connecting is only through this technology. So you have to allow your children to use technology responsibly to connect with their peers. Then so that they can have their environment. So maybe the same, we grow up in a situations where we went to a ground and then we played football or cricket. They can't do it now. The one thing that they can do is they may be able to play a video game together. We may have to agree to it. We have to, adjust ourselves into this new reality, because there is a need for a teenager to connect socially with other teenagers. So we have to create those venues. And how to do that? It's very different. So each family, as I said, it's a culture issue too. So we may want to think from that perspective. So behaviors, as I said, bad behaviors. when you wanted to address a bad behavior, you always have to identify the bad behavior. It cannot go general. Don't go generally saying that, okay, you're so bad. You didn't do anything for this whole day. No, they did the children might have done a lot of good things on a day, but then they might not have done certain things that it's been asked by you. So identify that behavior. Wherever possible, be very specific and then say, it's better to repeat the behavior, like, in words. Say that, what, I agreed that you are going to watch an hour TV, but you didn't stop after that hour. You continue to watch the TV. So be very specific. And other thing is that, you might, any kind of conversation that you wanted to do, this is very specifically applies to every human being, that, children validate their feelings. If it's your spouse, validate the feelings. You can talk about anything in this world to a person, provided you're able to understand the other person's emotion and to validate that other person's emotion. So if a child is sad, you have to acknowledge that the child is sad. The reasons for being sad may be different. You may not agree to that reason. It's okay. But the fact that the child is sad, that's something that we need to acknowledge. Your spouse is probably going to be angry at you. Acknowledge that. Yes, the spouse is angry. The reasons for that, we can have a discussion. But you have to, whenever that you're going to confront a bad behavior, you have to state it very clearly, what is the behavior looks like, and then you have to validate the emotions behind that behavior. So it's not that, you can't negate that behavior by ignoring the emotion. You have to acknowledge the emotion so that the person feels that, okay, it's okay, I'm getting validated, therefore I'm ready to listen to you now. And then also express your disapproval. So once you say that, you identify the behavior, being specifying about it, you validate that emotions behind it, but you still going to express the disapproval of that specific behavior. You're not disapproving the person, you're disapproving the person's behavior. Then also show them that they can do this better. So for example, like, they might have done something, they managed an emotion really well. They might have listened to you really well in the past. Bring that example and tell them, like, okay, when similar situation happened last week, you were able to do it really well. But this time, this behavior, I'm not agreeing to it. I understand that you are sad or you are upset. So this is a cycle that, you need to really manage that when you're having conversations with your child. Then reinstate the desired behavior. This is something that we always miss, because we go in, we storm at them, we say things, we are very upset, we are angry, we show our frustration, we tell them that you're bad, but then we never tell them what is good going to look like. So to do that, you need to be in a calm space. So move to that calmness first before you start confronting an issue. So one thing also that I wanted to add on to it and say, all children misbehave. You cannot find a child who is not going to misbehave. So that's something, it's a reality check. It's normal that if children are tired, hungry, afraid, or when they try to learn independence, that's all crazy moments that, they can drive us crazy. So understand that, and then try to understand the behavior and identify that behavior, be specific about it, validate the emotions behind that behavior, express your disapproval, show your child that he or she can do better. Provide examples. If you can, you must provide examples from their own life. You can't bring an example from neighbor's home. That's not going to work. You have to bring examples from your own children's life, that, the good things that they have done, and restate the desired behavior. The behavior is also that, this slide, I would say, keeping your thoughts positive, because your thoughts becomes your words. So this is a very powerful slide, a slide that I try to emphasize on this one. Keep your words positive, because your words become your behavior. Keep your behaviors positive, because your behavior becomes your habits. So if you have a habit of like, okay, short temper, I hear that all the time, like, okay, oh, my partner is short tempered. Yeah, but that's a habit. That habit is coming from certain behaviors, and that behavior is coming from your words. If you can change the words, then the behavior changes. Then your habits also can be changed. So redirect conversation is one way of doing it. So never confront an emotionally charged person. It's not going to work. If your spouse is emotionally charged, if your child is emotionally charged, do not confront at that point. What that person is required is a safe space to express that emotion. Provide that. Give a hug. Be with them. And try to listen to them. Even though rationally you are not in agreement with what they are saying, you can be in alignment with in an emotional level. That, to understand the person is upset, understand the person is sad. And then if the person is sad and upset, the best thing to do is to listen to them. Then take a pause before you respond. It's one of the hardest things to do because it's easy to give answers immediately because it's tick for tack kind of an approach. If my wife says something, I can immediately react to it. But instead, take a pause. And then if you are talking to children, use consequences. So if you're planning to do consequating a child's behavior, so you must praise good behavior and you have to be consistent and you must introduce routines. You have to do a lot of things to reduce the bad behavior before you bring punishment in. Because there is a role of you as a parent to do certain things before you can even ask the child to change. So that's something I really want all of us to think about it. Keep calm and manage stress. As I said, this is an unprecedented time. It's tough. People's jobs have affected. Some of us are in essential services, going to work under really stressful situation. Working from home is not really fun. You started realizing that at this point. Everybody is working from home. Your internet is slow. And a lot of things that can happen. So you are not alone. A lot of people are in it right now. So it's okay to take a break if you feel really frustrated, you feel overwhelmed. Take a break from what you do. When you take breaks, you don't have to take breaks for 15 minutes to an hour, 2 hours. I'm talking about taking 1 minute break. Then if you are really frustrated with your children, the magic formula is listen to your kids. If you think that your child is not listening to you, the magic formula, it's a very simple formula. Just listen to your child. Ask meaningful questions. Don't offer answers. Ask questions. And then go to a journey that is a joint problem solving. So if your child says, oh, this particular, I wanted to watch this TV show. It's already over. I want to watch it now. Go back and have a conversation. What is in it for them? The moment you understand what is in it for them, we are halfway, in a problem solving method. We can be there, we can help, and it's going to be very positive. So when you take a break, always practice that 1 minute relaxation. Just do a Google search. You will be able to find a lot of information about 1 minute relaxation. It is about stopping what you do, take deep breaths, and think about yourself, how your body is reacting, and then relax, come back. Then you can definitely have a conversation. So, most easiest way to do this 1 minute relaxation is to find a comfortable place to sit and think, feel about your body. Ask yourself, what am I thinking now? Notice your thoughts. Notice if your feelings are happy or not. Notice how your body feels. Notice anything that hurts, or is there anything that is really tense? then focus on your breath. When you focus on your breath, it means to listen to your breath as it goes in and it goes out. You can put a hand on your stomach so that you can sense it, like, whether it rise and fall. And then you may want to say to yourself, it's okay. Whatever it is, I'm okay. So that's the method that you need to approach for a 1-minute relaxation. And then come back to the reality. If you want to address your spouse, do that at that point. If you want to have a conversation with your child, go out and do it at that point. If you wanted to talk to your boss, do that after that. Please try to do this 1-minute relaxation technique. It worked for me, and I have seen it's working for people. So I hope it's going to work for you too. So talking about COVID-19 with children, this is an important aspect. People, we may think that children are not aware of what's happening in and around them. That's not true. They are. Be open and listen. Be honest and be supportive. It's okay to be feeling overwhelmed. It's okay to get stressed. It's okay to be afraid of, because it's an unknown situation. If we are afraid of it, our children are going to be. So be open, listen to them, be honest. Look for stories of people who are working to stop the outbreak and are caring for sick people. Because this is an important piece. You may want to move towards those positive stories and to share that with your children, so that the children knows that there are saviors in this world. There are help is out there, and then people are working. Share with them, depending on their age, science researchers, things that's happening in the field, vaccines, the PPE is coming out, doctors working hard. With all the negativity, move towards that positive space and have a conversation. And if your child asks you a question, and if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say that I don't know. Use this as an opportunity, because don't stop by saying that, okay, I don't know. Use it as an opportunity to learn something together. If you say something that I don't know my boy or I don't know my girl, then agree to work on it and to move forward to learn about it. And also at any time when your child start asking questions about this pandemic, COVID, ensure that your child is okay. Remind them that you care for them. And you can, give them the permission that it's okay for them to talk to us at any time. And then always, after every serious conversation, try to do something that's fun. Because those are the moments the children are going to really keep in their mind. So be willing to talk. And I hope I just passed 30 minutes, a little bit like 5 minutes, Ansar, but this is my couple of slides. And I know that it's a very fast presentation. So thank you very much. Thank you, Nanma, for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about some of my ideas around parenting and family relationship during this crisis period. So over to you, Ansar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prasad Nair. That's really energizing. We got a lot of tips on how to manage our family better during this unprecedented time. Now it's time to take some questions from the audience. We already got a couple of questions. First question is from Mushir. Can you please elaborate on the approach to build a sustainable value system in our children?
Okay, that's a great question, and thank you. The values, what I think as a value is probably not going to be a value for you, and this is related to the culture, the practice that we are having, right? But there are some universal values that we can think of. Honesty is a universal value. Empathy is a universal value. So how are we going to inculcate values in our children? As I think I mentioned that in my slides once in a specific part, that you can't teach them by saying. You cannot teach a child value just providing them a presentation around this is what value going to look like. You have to show them. And children have to feel there is a value for this value. Because, say for example, like, okay, we will always punish our children if they lie to us, right? It's a general rule. It's there. But are we rewarding them if they are honest to us? Honesty sometimes hurts. It's one of the most difficult things to do, right? So just think from the examples of our own life. The most difficult thing is to be honest and to start talking about the truth. And if your child is trying to be really honest and having a conversation with you, how are you going to reward those conversations? Sometimes it's hard. So values are inculcated definitely by role modeling. Model it, reward it. So the value that you see that it is beneficial, if the child exhibits those, even after it's most difficult thing for you to agree to it, accept it, reward it. And the values that, certain values that the children are going to behave, you may want to have a thought or thinking around to say that, okay, is it because my values are outdated? It's going to happen, right? Because the generation's moving so fast. So we are sticking into certain cultural values, and then all of a sudden our children are coming back and then start negotiating with us on those values. Be open. Are we able to go and have a significant discussions with our children with a smile on our face? And that is the suggestion I have. And again, value-based parenting it's a major presentation that I think one of my presentation is available in YouTube too. It's an hour-long presentation.
Thank you. Next question is pretty interesting. Everyone want to do this. How do we support our spouses during this time?
Yeah. So, it's an interesting space. Let's understand it. And this is where I started my presentation too. Everyone is stressed. Everyone is overwhelmed. But our problem is that we think that our stress and our overwhelming stuff is the most important thing in this world, right? Just change that thinking, and then just shift it the other way around. When you meet a person, just think that the other person is in need. The other person is stressed. And that's a simple thing that we can do at this point. If you feel you are stressed and you feel angry, before you talk to your spouse or the other person, think that the other person is also going to be angry. Similar thing can happen, right? And that is one thing. Number two, that I mentioned in my presentation that if you are a husband, and I'm just trying to be very sexist here, I'm not really saying that okay, I'm trying to be very clear. If you are a husband that you never get into a kitchen, just try to do something very different. Go into that kitchen, try to help. But before you start doing anything inside that kitchen, always ask the principal person who handles the kitchen, right? So that's always an important aspect. Other thing is that, looking after children, share that responsibility. Try to overdo things a little bit. Then the third aspect is that, I would say, express your love and affection. Don't keep it to yourself. There is no meaning of you being not expressing your love and affection to your spouse or to your children. Show them, tell them, express. So that's how I'll answer to that question.
Okay. Thank you very much for answering that question. Next question we have here is, how do you co-parent in this situation where the parents are separated and have joint custody of the children?
Yeah, this is going to be very tough. I would say, when in such circumstances, I want us to place the children's need first, right? And sometimes you may want it to do. It's not a desired level, right? But then the child's safety and well-being needs to come first, right? You can use technology to have access with your child. You can definitely have increased FaceTime with your child. You may not be able to see your child because of the current situation. So we may want to understand that. And then to open up to say that, if you're really unable to have a real conversation with your spouse or a previous spouse, this is the right time that you may want to think about having some therapy, getting a good mediator. I always think that your child's need is coming first, not your own needs. It's one of the toughest things to do. But that's something that I really encourage you to think of.
Thank you. Next question. Before I go to the next question, I would encourage everyone to use this opportunity to message their question in the chat window, so that we have volunteers who can direct the question to Prasad Nayak. So next question, how do we deal with tantrums during this time, given parents' stress is also high?
Again, recognize it, understand that it's difficult, right? Because when you have a task in front of you, you know that it's not easy, then you would approach it with little bit more careful manner, right? Tantrums originates because we didn't provide them a schedule. Okay, and usually, this question comes up and then my answers are somewhat pointing towards parents. If your child is showing tantrums, 70 to 80% of the time, the reason behind that tantrum is you. And that's what it is. Because the child knows that by showing a specific behavior, child is able to get what he or she wants. So there is some sort of learned behavior, and that is what tantrums are. So you may want to have very specific going back. You can prevent tantrums. That's one way of doing it. But preventing tantrums doesn't mean that you are going to give your child everything that the child wants. Instead, you wanted to have an understanding around your child's behavior. This is how your child is going to behave in a day, and then try to deviate the child's attention from those to positive things. This is where it comes up. Instead of talking to them about don't mess up the room, help them to clean the room. So you wanted to change that narrative to a different space and to work with them. That is one way of managing tantrum. Whether the child is 2 years old, whether the child is 10 years old, whether the child is 21 years old, doesn't really matter. The tantrums are coming because they see that it is rewarding.
Thank you. So we are almost to the end of the session. Before we wrap up, we would like to have this final question. What is your message to couples who already are in difference or disagreement?
My message to them is that it's okay to have difference of opinion. But if you have a child together, your primary responsibility is to the well-being of your child. So you may want to focus on your child's needs first. Because you as a spouse probably will have difference of opinion with your previous spouse. Or rather, two adults can have difference of opinion, it's okay. But it's unfair for the child to suffer from your rational fights, right? Rational fights are irrational at all times because it's loaded with emotions. So my suggestion is that, if you have such a situation, understand your emotions. And then use a third party to navigate such things. If you are emotional, do not get involved into a confrontational discussion. Go to a discussion only with a well thought outcome in your mind. So those are the things that you may want to see.
So we got one question from Facebook. So I'll read it out for you. Values, as you said, are different for each individual. What if the values someone wants to teach their children are not the values respected in the Western society we live?
Okay, so this is a very complex question. That is why I said values are not static, right? So culture, it's just like culture. So I'm an immigrant, came to Canada from India. So when I came in, I brought a culture with me. I put that in a safe locker always. Whenever I confront with issues, I open up the safe, started looking at that culture, and I feel very happy about it. And I forgot the fact that from where I came from, the culture has changed. Things are changing. So our children are absorbing certain value systems from the society that we choose to be in. So there are communities, they isolate themselves from the mainstream society and leave themselves. That is how they protect their value system. Who am I to judge? I'm not going to judge it. So if you can't adjust with a value system of a society, you only have one choice, that you have to leave the society. You may want to move out from that society. You cannot be in a society and to go against that society's value. It's going to be very, very difficult. Whether like it or not, at one point, your child is going to side with the value of the society. Because that is where 90% of the time your child is going to interact. Where your child is going to be schooling, where your child is going to have interactions with the child's friends, workspace, spouse, all those things are going to come from a different value system, not from your value. So that's where it is that, we wanted to be very open around it. But then we may want to stick to certain universal values. You can definitely state your value back to your child and saying that, okay, I'm not in agreement with what you are saying. This is my value. But then at that point, it ends. There is nothing more you can do. That is what a parent have to realize. You cannot influence your child through an argument. You can show the child, this is how I am going to live. This is my life. Child may either listen to you at this point, or maybe 10 years from now, maybe 15 years from now, maybe not at all. But then what is the purpose of parenting? Parenting is about, that's why I started my presentation saying it this way. The purpose of our parenting is to help a better society, to keep a better individual, or rather create a better individual with a high social quotient, with high emotional quotient. And that is what is the purpose. That is why the families have been, it's created. That is why we created the structure that is called a family. Because we wanted to inculcate our values to our children, that is to sustain in a society. You cannot separate the society from your family, because family is the fundamental piece of a society. So when anybody is saying that, okay, my value and society values are not in agreement, I really want them to think, what are you seeing as the difference? And then, is that something that you can live with? If not, then you have to choose a different society.
Thank you. So this is one question even I would like to ask as well. How do you manage kids' screen time during this time? This question is from Famina. How do you
okay, I would say it this way. This is a very bad time to start anything extremely different than what you have already been experienced. So for example, if you have in place the schedules with your child to manage screen time previously, this is going to be one of the toughest days. Because you can't send the child out, there is no school, there is a lot of time the child is going to be at home. Things that you can do is, if you are a parent who have some time in your hand, I would say write down and create a timetable. That is for you to spend the time with your child, not for your child. That's the difference. So you're creating a timetable to spend the time with your child. So you're creating it and it's based on your schedule. And then try to stick with that and engage the child into it. Because if the child feels that the best toy is the parent. So if the child feels that, okay, my parent is ready to be with me and ready to play with me, child is not going to pay much attention to a screen. Because there is something the child is getting from screen, which is an attention. So what we really wanted to do is to move it away from it and then to provide and then engage with that child to move into different activities. And that is where I would say it's one of the toughest time to do it, because you are with the child 24/7. So with a lot of other stressors are affecting your behaviors at this point. So realize that, and then at least try to do it like, okay, maybe your child is on TV and on screen for say 8 hours. Try to reduce it by 4 hours. Don't go to saying no screen time at all. Try to reduce it and then impart better activities in place. Right? Joint activities. That's the suggestion I have. And this is slightly different when it comes to teenagers. So that's a very different way of managing it. Again, engage, sit down, have a positive conversation. And if you don't agree with the behavior, state the behavior and agree with the emotions behind that behavior. And again, validate their emotions, restate your outcome, and stick with your gun. I should not be saying the word gun. Stick with your point.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the practical approach for how to handle this. So the next question is pretty interesting question. Maybe it's a puzzle for you. So if all of my children is asking who is my favorite, then I answered 3, but I have some favorite of behavior in each one of them. So my son asked if the house is in fire and I can only save one of them, then who will be saved?
Yeah, so this is an interesting space, right? So I really want everyone who listens to this conversation to think about this. This is the fundamental aspect of parenting. That question, if a child is asking you, that's the place you start having a conversation and start having conversation about the real values in life. If my child is asking that question, I will ask my child back, whom you think that I should save? Right? So, because that's the place we are going to have conversation around values. Child is going to look into it. Child will say, save me. Then the question is that, okay, why should I save you than your brother or sister? Right? So it's a conversation. There is no answer. The first part of it is that, who is the favorite one? Everyone will ask for that. But then, most of you in this conversation is probably very faithful in them, God-fearing, right? Do you think the God is definitely favoring one person to the other? It's a difficult thing. Again, that's a place for us to start a conversation around the value. We can definitely say, oh, okay, that's an interesting question. What do you think? Right? Do you think that, this happened in my life. So that's why I can very well say, I asked the question back and then, what do you think? Okay, I think that you love my brother more. And then tell me the reasons. Why you think it that way? So it's a conversation. So once a person brings, okay, but then you gave him, a mobile phone when he was in grade 8. Okay, I am not getting it in grade 8. Okay, so that's one very tangible thing the child feels, right? So that's again a conversation. That conversation about okay, what do you think? Why you think that I gave this particular mobile phone to your brother when he was at grade 8? So then the child is able to think about it to provide. Again, as a parent, you are not discriminating. If you as a parent are discriminating because of some other aspects of it, I really suggest that we may want to think about receiving therapy. Because at some circumstances, people do it. I'm not going to say okay, people are not going to do it that way. No, we have case examples where we can very much say that, okay, parent is siding one child to the other. Again, it is about a conversation, understanding it. Sometimes having that conversation with your child, you're going to realize that, yes, some of my behaviors are sided to child A or child B. And it's a place to change, apologize. If you have done something bad, something that is not right, then, be honest. Tell your child that I'm sorry. That was not my intention, and I'm sorry that you are getting it that way. That gives the child another kind of a message that it is okay to accept a mistake. It is okay to accept or take responsibility of the things that's happening.
Thank you.
Hi friends. This is Fazil Abdu, serving as an Executive Secretary of Nanma. നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് വളരെ ചെറിയ സമയം കൊണ്ട് വലിയ അറിവിന്റെ ഒരു പ്രസാദ് ഏട്ടന്റെ നല്ലൊരു ക്ലാസ് ആയിരുന്നു നമ്മൾ കേട്ടത്. ഈ ഒരു ഫാമിലി സെഷനിലെ നമുക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും, പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും എല്ലാ ആളുകളും, പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും മലയാളി, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ ക്ലാസ് കേട്ട എല്ലാവരും ഫാമിലി ബേസ്ഡ് ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അവരുടെ ജീവിതവുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് പ്രസാദ് സാർ പറഞ്ഞത്. പലപ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് അനുഭവമുള്ള കാര്യം പറ്റിയാണ് പ്രസാദ് സാർ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഒരുപക്ഷെ ലോകത്ത് തന്നെ നമുക്ക് ഈ മെറ്റീരിയൽ ലോകത്ത്, ഈ കോർപ്പറേറ്റ് ലോകത്ത് ഏറ്റവും ഫ്രീ ആയി എല്ലാ സേവനം കിട്ടുന്ന ഒരു ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻ ഇത് കുടുംബം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ആ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻ മാത്രമായിരിക്കും. ആ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷനിൽ നിന്നാണ് ഈ വരുന്ന തലമുറ അവരുടെ ഭാവിയിലേക്കുള്ള വാല്യൂസിനെ ഉൽപ്പാദിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ന്യൂട്രീഷൻ സെന്റർ ആയിട്ട് മാറുന്നത്. പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും ഈ ഒരു കോവിഡ് ലോക്ക്ഡൌൺ കാലത്ത് നമുക്ക് ചെറിയ തിരിച്ചറിവുകളുടെ ഒരു കാലമാവട്ടെ എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ വിചാരിക്കുന്നത്. ഒരിക്കൽ ഞാൻ ഒരു വീട്ടിൽ പോയപ്പോ ആ വീട്ടില് എനിക്ക് ഒരു നല്ലൊരു മാങ്ങ തന്നിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഈ മാങ്ങയെ പറ്റി ചോദിച്ചപ്പോ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, എന്റെ വീട്ടിലേക്ക് ഈ മാങ്ങ മരം മാവ് തരണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പൊ പിറ്റേന്ന് രാവിലെ ഞാൻ തിരിച്ച് വീട്ടിലേക്ക് പോകുന്ന സമയത്ത് ആ വീട്ടുകാരനിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞേ, ഇന്നലെ ചോദിച്ചല്ലോ മാവിനെ പറ്റി, ഞാൻ മാവ് എടുത്തു വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ചു, ഓക്കെ, മാവ് മുളച്ച മാവായിരിക്കും തരാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചതെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചു. ആ സമയത്ത് വീട്ടുകാരൻ എനിക്ക് തന്നത് ഇന്നലെ തിന്ന ആ മാങ്ങയുടെ സീഡായിരുന്നു, കൊരട്ടയായിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ അത് ഈ സമയത്ത് ആലോചിച്ചത്, അഥവാ ആ ഒരു സീഡിൽ നിന്നാണ് ഇത്രയും മധുരമുള്ള മാങ്ങ ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്. അഥവാ നമ്മുടെ വീട്ടിലുള്ള, നമ്മുടെ മക്കളാണ് ഭാവിയിൽ മധുരം തരുന്ന മാവായി മാറുന്ന ഈ ചെറിയ സീഡുകൾ എന്നുള്ള. പലപ്പോഴും നമുക്കതിനെ ചെറിയ മക്കളായി കാണുമ്പോൾ ഭാവിയിലുള്ള നമ്മളെ പോലെയും നമ്മുടെ അമ്മമാരും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ സമൂഹത്തിന് നേതാക്കളാക്കി മാറേണ്ട മക്കളാണ് നമ്മുടെ മുന്നിലുള്ളത്. എന്നിരുന്നാലും ഈ കോവിഡ് കാലം, ഈ ഒരു കോവിഡ് ലോക്ക്ഡൌൺ നല്ല അമ്മയും നല്ല അച്ഛനിലേക്കും നല്ല മക്കളിലേക്കുള്ള ഒരു റീകലക്ഷൻ ആവട്ടെ എന്ന് ഞാൻ പ്രത്യാശിക്കുകയാണ്. ഈ ഒരു സെഷൻ വളരെ ഭംഗിയിൽ നമ്മോട് സംസാരിച്ച, വളരെ ചെറിയ സമയം കൊണ്ട് വളരെ കൃത്യമായി സംസാരിച്ച പ്രസാദ് നായർ സാറിന് എല്ലാവിധ നന്ദിയും നന്മയുടെ പേരിൽ അറിയിക്കുകയാണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ പരിപാടിയുടെ ടെക്നിക്കൽ സപ്പോർട്ടിന് വേണ്ടി ഒരുപാട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്ത ഇവിടെ ടെക്നിക്കൽ ടീമിനെ നന്മ കാനഡയുടെ എല്ലാവിധ നന്ദിയും ഭാവവും അറിയിക്കുന്നു. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ നന്മയുടെ വളണ്ടിയർ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ ഒരു ഓൺലൈൻ സംവിധാനത്തിലേക്ക് പല വഴിയിലെ ഊബർ കോൺഫറൻസിലൂടെ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഫ്രീ കോൺഫറൻസിലൂടെ, ഗൂഗിൾ മീറ്റിലൂടെ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഫേസ്ബുക്ക് ലൈവിലൂടെ നന്മയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടി സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്ത എല്ലാവർക്കും ഹൃദയംഗമായ നന്ദി അറിയിക്കുന്നു. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നന്ദി, നല്ലൊരു ദിവസം നേരുന്നു. അസ്സലാമു അലൈക്കും, നമസ്കാരം.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our evening. We got lot of feedback, good feedback in all medium like Facebook and all. Many people are thanking Prasad Nair. On behalf of Nanma, thank you all for making time in your busy schedule to join us here this evening. It's been our pleasure to host this event, and I wish you all a pleasant evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. May peace be upon everyone. Thank you.